I always studied in the afternoon shift at every school I went to, but when classes started for 8th grade, I ended up being placed in a morning class for some reason. That meant I wasn't with my friends anymore. I was alone in a room where I didn't know anyone, so I sat in the back under a broken ceiling fan. And I was already mad because going to school in the morning sucks. You have to wake up at 6 a.m. to go to school. Who likes that? At one point, the principal walked into the room and started scolding everyone. I had no idea what was going on until she pointed at the fan and said,
"Yesterday, someone broke the fan, and the person responsible still hasn't come forward."
And I said, "Great, just my luck. Now they're gonna blame me." What I didn't realize was that the whole room had gone quiet, so everyone heard what I said, even the principal. And I ended up getting scolded by the principal on my first day of school, and everyone laughed at me. But the next week, I asked my dad to get me transferred back to the afternoon, and luckily, I got placed in my old class again with my friends. Just to give some context, I've known how to do backflips since I was a kid. One time when school ended and I was walking home, I saw 2 girls from my class across the street waiting for the bus. They were the smartest girls in the class and I didn't really like them, but I really liked showing off to others. And I decided to show off in front of the girls by doing what? Exactly, a backflip. So I thought to myself, they're gonna see me land a backflip and probably think I'm super cool. I walked a little ahead, made sure they were watching, and started getting ready. I took a deep breath, got into position, and just as I jumped, I slipped. Seriously, I've never fallen so bad in my life as I did that day. I looked back and saw them laughing at me. I even gave a little smile so they'd think I found it funny too. But the truth is that I went home sad because my mother was gonna kill me when she saw that I was all bruised and bruised. I won't lie, it was actually pretty funny because I saw myself falling in slow motion. And the moment I realized I wasn't going to land the flip, I just thought, well, I'm screwed. As I mentioned in the previous video on the channel, I had a crush on a girl named Alita. She was really pretty, but I never thought I would have a chance with her because, well, I looked like a blobfish. So I had this friend I liked too, and I won't say her name because if I do, no one will believe me. One interesting thing about her was that she was a rocker and hated all kinds of hip hop. Back in 2012, there were a lot of online wars between hip hop fans and rock fans, and she spent all day on Facebook sharing memes saying hip hop was trash and rock was awesome. And I told her I was a rocker too, to try and get her to like me more because of it. But the only song I knew that was remotely close to rock was Taylor Swift. Because I actually didn't know anything about rock. Even today, I still know nothing about rock. And she and I used to chat on Facebook every day after school. We'd play games like who could stay awake the longest. And we never made it past 1 a.m. Until one day, she said she wanted to tell me something. But she didn't want to say it on Facebook. It had to be in person. So she said she'd tell me something important at school the next day. And since I was, how can I put this? Very, very down bad, I immediately thought she was going to confess her love to me. So I went to bed all anxious for the next day. And when I got to school the next day during recess, she called me over to the corner of the room and she was holding one of those little be my boyfriend, yes or no love letters. And I was really nervous that day. Then she handed me the letter and said,
"Can you give this to Marcos for me?"
Yeah, she wasn't trying to confess to me. She just wanted to use me as a messenger to confess to Marcos. And the worst part was that Marcos was a hip-hop fan. Turns out she only hated ugly hip-hop fans. Good-looking hip-hop fans she was into. What a I became the carrier pigeon for the girl I liked. But if you want to know the rest of the story, Marcos rejected her and said she was ugly. Election time is really important, but it's also super annoying because you have to go to a crowded place to vote for politicians. It sucks. Anyway, I went to vote and it was awful. I had to go to my old high school and it was packed. Everyone was squeezed into the line like a hamburger, not to mention the heat. The line was in a narrow hallway with no fan or anything. It was just a bunch of people squeezed together in heavy, stale air. After a while, it was finally my turn and I had to check in with the poll worker. I show him my photo ID. They confirmed my name in the system and gave me a little card with a code on it. And that's how it went. They kept calling people's names one by one until it got to me, and that took a long time. I was very bored, and I was already half dead sitting in that chair. You know when you're so bored you just stare at the floor lost in thought? That was exactly me. But I had just finished school and was still used to how teachers do roll call. So when the poll worker called my name, this happened.
Speed!
It's me! Everyone looked at me, and this woman in the back started giggling, and that made me a little embarrassed, but not too much, because everyone in that room was an adult, and as any teenager knows, you only feel embarrassed in front of other teenagers. Hope you get what I mean. Anyway, even though I was embarrassed, I went in, voted, and left, and I never want to vote again in my life.